next, the Florida Panthers earlier this week just won their second straight Stanley Cup championship. Back-to-back cups for the team from sunny Florida, and 3 straight Stanley Cup finals appearances. And because of these numbers, there's been a lot of talk over the last few days across the hockey world as to whether the Florida Panthers should be considered a dynasty now, or a modern-day dynasty at the very least. My thoughts on the topic, not that you asked for it, but I'm giving them anyway. I don't think the Panthers should be considered a dynasty right now. 3 straight finals appearances is, of course, an incredible achievement. Back-to-back consecutive championships is one of the best things that you could possibly do in the salary cap era. But there's been talk about, like, the early to mid-2010 Chicago Blackhawks with their 3 cups in 6 years, being a modern-day dynasty. There's talk about kind of the early to mid-2010s LA Kings as well, with their 2 championships in 3 years in 2012 and 2014. I think 3 straight Stanley Cup finals like Tampa did earlier in the 2020s is a very impressive achievement, and I think it puts them, like, right on the cusp of being a dynasty. However, I think in the modern day, if you really want to be considered a dynasty, to be put up there with the Edmonton Oilers, the Montreal Canadiens of decades past, the early 80s New York Islanders, I think you have to win 3 Stanley Cups in a row. Now, there is definitely a conversation as to whether the Panthers would be able to do so. I think the upcoming 2025-26 NHL season is going to be an interesting one, and I think the Panthers have as good of a chance as anybody or any other champion to repeat if they make the right moves and keep the right guys. But I think 3 straight finals appearances isn't enough to make you a dynasty. I think 3 consecutive championships is. I think back-to-back cups like Tampa did earlier this decade and Florida has just done makes you a top team and one of the best teams, obviously, in the league within the last 5, 10, 15 years. But does it make you a dynasty? I don't think it's enough to qualify for dynasty status. I know some people are saying with the salary cap and modern day dynasties can't work in the same way, and I think there's a legitimate argument to be made there. I can understand why some people would think that they are a dynasty. However, in my humble British opinion, I don't think the Florida Panthers are a dynasty. I think you have to win 3 in a row to be considered a dynasty, just like the Tampa Bay Lightning of the early 2020s is also not a dynasty. They were the, by and large, the best team in the league, but they weren't a dynasty, and neither are the Florida Panthers unless they win a 3rd consecutive championship next year. Let me know your thoughts on this. You might agree, you might disagree. I'd love to hear your thoughts, but this is me checking in my half-year, biannual video. I'll try and make some more in the future, I promise. Free agency's coming up soon, so let's have some fun. Thanks, guys.